Raanan is fat and he's a Jew. He'll tell you something that you already knew. Your favorite movie sucks. Your favorite movie sucks. American Beauty or Forrest Gump. Your favorite movie sucks.
We are here to talk about a movie, your favorite movie, which I was always curious what your favorite movie is. It makes sense.
Yeah. Pre-comedy favorite movie, like it's about art. It's about, as someone with no religion, raised with no religion, I look at this and I go, oh, this is my religion.
Art.
It's a deep, solipsistic, like
Yes.
I must achieve
Yes.
greatness, and in that I will touch divinity.
It is you. It really is.
It is.
You are. I mean, all of us are to some degree. I mean, I relate a little to. We haven't even said the fucking movie. We'll just have them guess the whole time. Like they would never say it. It's Black Swan.
Black Swan.
Which solipsistic is the correct word. This movie is so just in her perspective, nothing else.
Yeah. And it ends in white. When she dies at the end, it goes to white, I believe.
Yeah.
And to me, that's heaven, baby.
That's heaven, just perfection. Yeah, at
Perfection.
all costs. At all costs. But really, just to herself.
Yeah, it's
because that's the thing.
The religion is Jesus didn't die for our sins. Jesus died to put on a great ballet.
Right. And there's yes, it is art as religion, but not just art. I mean, let's face it, it's not just art. It's not just creativity. I mean, there's creativity, but it's also perfection.
Perfection. And like from the outside, you could be like, is it perfection or do you just want to be better than everyone else?
Right. Is it perfection or is it like ego? Like, you know what I mean? Like, where's the part of it that's art has all these different elements, right? Like, so it's like there's the creative play part, there's the expressing part, and then there's the people clapping part, which is what it I believe ends
it's
on.
this mix of she has her own standards for what that perfection is, but it's not like she would ever do it at a practice studio by herself and go and die like
it doesn't matter if it's not objectively the queen of the Swan, whatever the fuck she's called.
Yeah.
If it's objectively the best part. You know what I mean?
Exactly. But what is the audience but the eye of God?
Right.
Approving.
Right, true. I mean, you can't, people talk about art, they're like, well, you should just do it for yourself, but you can't. It is connected to approval and people, you do need that. I mean, I guess not everyone needs that, but certainly.
And can you imagine these days if she did it and it wasn't until she put it on TikTok and it went viral and then she went, I've achieved it. Ultimately it does have to be people in the space and there's something beautiful about it.
Yes, you need it. I never bought the thing where it's like, just do it for yourself or it doesn't matter if other people like it or not.
Our art is the most reliable. Ballet you can practice on your own. Comedy you can't really.
Art is an eternal focus group. You're always in the focus group. You're always needing the approval.
Mm-hmm.
You can't do it. I mean, you can't do it on your own. I mean, you can write on your own, but the reason I think comedy, what do you think about this?
Yeah.
I think comedy takes the least amount of natural talent, and as a result, it takes the most amount of skill.
That's an interesting way to put it. It definitely, I agree with you on the first part. It takes the least amount of
you don't have to be a
talent.
good. I mean, you don't have to be a good singer. You don't have to be good.
That's why. Well, I really it feels like I failed into comedy where I wanted to be
everyone
this.
does.
I wanted to be this Daniel Day-Lewis actor. I wanted to be this brilliant musical theater performer. And I think going into comedy, it was like, well, I fucking better be so good at this because I failed.
Right. It's like every actor in a Zucker Brothers movie, they were once trying to be a serious actor.
Yes.
Like Leslie Nielsen was probably one of, it's you as a serious actor and the opposite happened. Funny.
Yes.
And then you try to make that your career. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Every comedy is a sense of failure.
For sure. But I also think there's a neuroticism. I sometimes think I'm like, do I love stand-up or do I always need feedback.
Yes.
And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. It's just like whenever I tried anything else, I want to be like, is that good? Is that good? Is that good? And comedy literally supplies that for you.
It's a lack of patience. It's instant gratification. It shows you how much stand-up and algorithmic stuff has it's kind of the perfect blend because stand-up has always been on some level instant gratification.
Yeah.
And now Instagram, social media is a whole new level of instant gratification.
Sure.
But stand-up was primed to be the most I feel like the art form that is most susceptible to that. You know what I mean?
I want to ask like the Jim Carreys of the world, like where they really did it and then they stopped. And I go like, did you change? Do you ever miss it? You know,
the
Eddie
comedy part or like
the live, the
live
back and forth. I think a lot. I did something at Nighthawk last night where we watched The King of Comedy.
Oh yeah.
And apparently they offered the role that Jerry Lewis played to Johnny Carson first.
Oh wow.
And he was like, when he
That would've been
retired, he like,
self-reflexive.
yeah, but he went to his like whatever his mansion was and like never did anything again.
Right.
And I'm like, but didn't you miss it?
But what about this though? Did you miss it, or if you no longer have the ego need, does it go away? Because clearly Johnny Carson has satisfied that feeling of being, that fear of being invisible.
I don't think the Black Swan. It's like death is the only end to that need.
Right. I mean, yeah, but if you're a Tonight Show host, you can't. That feeling of being invisible, that I do think that does drive us, right? I mean, I find it a lot in stand-up. We'll get more to the movie. I feel like we're just going to talk about stand-up the whole time. It's hard not to, but like, I find, I talked to my therapist, it's like a disease where I need to feel relevant at all times, or I feel like the world is moving on without me. And it's such a bad, first of all, I do think it can be detrimental to a sense of like craftsmanship and patience, which is like a lot of great art comes from craftsmanship. You know what I mean? A lot of great art, like fucking James Joyce spent like 9 years on, Ulysses. I mean, that's a pretty big example, but
but that's why stand-up is that's why things expire.
It's ephemeral,
Yeah. And I think we're all having to deal with, I know how much you're putting up how many specials, and it's like, well, should I? And then I look like Jesselnick takes 5 years, and I go like, is that wiser? Is that? But I don't have the patience for it either. And then I think of an Epstein joke, and I'm like, well, is this even worth anything, or is it just in the moment? Do I cone it for 3 months or release it right now?
Right, or do you do Josh Johnson every week? It's like 2 hours on a headline. Nothing against that, but that's the ultimate culmination of like get it out right away. He's embraced the pure topicality of stand-up.
Yeah.
And it's unhealthy on some degree. I mean, I'll be honest, if I post a clip and people love it, it makes me feel good. I'm not ashamed of that. I mean, it makes me feel good.
Of course. It's just like, are you cultivating like you have 2 bits that I feel like I've told people a lot, and it's the global warming bit. No information. False information is more powerful than no information.
Yeah.
And then that Game of Thrones one was so funny.
That's funny. That bit never worked on the road. Did I tell you that?
Yeah, it's dark in its own way.
Well, it's just some things that go viral, like they just don't, like that joke on the road. I mean, maybe I wasn't doing at the time like the best clubs, but on the road, that joke is about like what is it? It's something, I forget how it goes, but it's like but it's basically,
you have to understand he needed these characters to rape in to be realistic to the world. He completely invented in his own imagination.
Yeah, and it was a funny thing, like here and other, but on the road, people like don't even think of who George R.R. Martin is. And they don't even know that people are offended by it. That's the other thing. So much of our comedy, like especially in the like bubbles, you're addressing something people are offended by. Then you go on the road and people are like, "What?" Like even
all
now,
sorts of stuff, information. Yeah, I the part where I feel like I'm at this part of my career where I go, okay, some of these jokes I love, they don't like crush at the cellar for randos. Does that mean it's not good? Or does that mean, no, this is for the audience that I wanted to cultivate that has a certain shared, because I remember I have jokes from my first couple of years. There are not better jokes, but they kill in every room.
Of course, there's a broadness to that. Yeah, sometimes I'll have this too where like my jokes have become more nuanced and more me.
Yeah.
But then someone like, was I just better in the beginning when I could do well everywhere?
Yeah.
But it's tough. I don't know. I don't know the answer. I look at Chris Fleming and I'm like, I love him. I think he's great.
I think of Chris Fleming all the time.
Yeah, I think he's great, but I couldn't do that. Like I couldn't. I think to be like that, it's almost like Chris Fleming is the way I feel about protests. I support other people doing it, but I would never go. I love that he is doing these jokes and I get these jokes. But these jokes don't work on the road.
I want I want to watch Chris Fleming bomb just to calm myself down, because I look at it, I go, my God,
Right, you're seeing the best
so
case.
nuanced. This is, but also just like, how did you saw Celine Dion's sons in a documentary and you built a 6-minute chunk?
Yeah, and also sometimes I don't even understand what he's saying. There are many times where I say that like I'm like on the zeitgeist.
Sure.
I'm pretty out of touch. There are sometimes he says shit and it's just gibberish to me. But when I get it, I fucking love it. He has this bit about like, is the world ending or not? You know, it's like Bernie Sanders one day is like, you know, we're cold and warming, it's all destroyed.
Bernie
and the next
Sanders
day and then he's on Subway Takes. It's so funny. But I'm like, is Subway Takes something people know outside of like, you
and
know?
it's so nuanced. Like he's making fun of how Kareem lies. And I'm like, I never even thought he was sitting a weird way, but now that you say it, that's a funny.
He's brilliant.
He's brilliant.
But you have to bomb, I think. You have to not care about. You have to not care that you're not going to do well sometimes, and that takes a lot of balls.
And you have to not do well, and then trust that you're like, no, it's not me.
Yeah. I don't have that. I want people to like me.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a degree. You know, I don't want to just be broad my whole life, but I want that balance. Now, there's a lot of comics who have that. Louis C.K. at his prime was great art that also wasn't inside baseball.
But he also talks about the age. I'm 36. How old are you?
41.
41. Like, it feels like we're in that window where he talked about just being an age where like the younger people he can connect to and the older people he can connect to. And I'm like, we're in that window. Of like in the middle. No, I'm like, I better churn right now.
I'm at the age where I'm like happier when there's older people in the audience.
Sure.
I've reached that age where it's like, I mean, I'd rather people in their 50s than people in their 20s sometimes.
Wow, yeah. I definitely have a lot of like 18-year-olds, and I'm like, some stuff
it's tough. They have a positive outlook on life a lot of times, or either it's positive or they're just completely blocked out.
Yeah.
They're just in their own like nihilistic let's party at the end of the world.
Sure.
But it's tough. The negativity doesn't always. I've always thought of stand-up as, we talk about failure. I always thought of the best stand-up as like a guy whose life the dreams have failed. He's lost some illusions. Mm-hmm. I mean, you're the same way. Your stand-up's like that, and you're on stage and you're disillusioned, and you're talking to people who are disillusioned. I always thought that to me is stand-up is different to different people, but for me, that's what it was. So when I'm with young people who aren't disillusioned,
sure,
it's sometimes I feel like I scare them. I'm like sweaty and frantic, and instead of getting like with older people whose souls are a little dead, they laugh, but with them they go, "Are you okay?" Like that's the feeling. It's just like, "Are you all right?"
But I remember when I was 14 and my mom got me a George Carlin album, and it was like my first foray into stand-up comedy. And it was one where, you know, I'm an anxious kid, so scared of death and wanting there to be some kind of you know, religious thing. And George Carlin's like, there never was a God. There's no God. There's never going to be a God. And I'm like, God damn it, dude. It freaks me the fuck out.
Sure.
And that's the kind of stuff that, like, whenever I want to talk about death things where I'm like, is this funny? Is this too dark? And, like, jokes with my dad pre a surgery, he asked me, he was like, son, do you think there's something after you die? And I was like, oh, fuck, I guess it's my turn to lie now. And it's like, it's one of those things that in a regular room,
that's great. Do you do that?
They go, yeah.
That's great joke. I love that.
But it's, but you know, in a Comedy Cellar room at the VU, they're like, it's Friday night, brother. What the fuck?
Death is the biggest taboo. Jokes.
To really talk
when
about
I was 8, I was freaking out about death. I was like looking in the mirror and I realized I was like going to die one day. And I asked my dad, I was like, we were in a car and I was like, oh, what happens after you die? And he was just like, nothing. It's just blackness.
That's so crazy that's what your dad, because my parents
you had George Carlin. I had my dad.
Sure. my dad was like, son, I know there's something stronger than us that exists beyond this world. My mom said, though, there's got to be something better than this shit. Which felt like a real,
Jewish.
And she's the Jewish side of my family. And I'm like,
Jewish.
There's something about that. Because I wasn't raised religiously Jewish, but I'm like, something about that is Jewish.
That's very Jewish. It's like a belief in the afterlife that's also a complaint.
Yes.
It's like Christian afterlife is like, we all, and this is like, there's got to be something better. That's the ultimate Jewish complaint where it's like you're at like a meal, like this can't be the main dish.
Yeah. My mom, I swear, she once called me. She said, you know, I don't think I've ever felt joy. And I was like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, but we got to talk about the movie here. We've got all. Let's go back to the movie. We'll go back to the stand-up because we haven't even touched on the movie, though this conversation is very interesting. The movie, we'll go through it because there's a lot I like. There's a lot I struggle with, honestly. I want to love it.
What do you struggle with?
I struggle with the fact that, well, first of all, I do think every Natalie Portman movie seems to be a metaphor about how she can't act. I told you this over the phone.
What do you mean,
The same
though?
thing with May. Did you see May December?
I did.
It's the same thing. That's all about her being a bad actor and how Julianne Moore is such a better actress. And then at the end, all her like perfectionism, when it goes into her doing the scene, and Natalie Portman's really bad at it. And then this is almost feels so like, my critique of Natalie Portman has always been she's kind of stiff. She's a stiff actress. She almost feels like she's hitting the mark, but she doesn't know how to let go. This whole movie is about Natalie Portman.
Sure.
Because Natalie Portman is not the kind of actress who really lets go a lot. There's a frigidity to her. Everything they say in the movie is accurate to Natalie Portman.
Sure. Then maybe she knows her type to play. I mean, I've seen her in that. I've seen her in as JFK's wife. What's
Jackie?
As Jackie.
Yeah.
And there's a tightness and a control.
She's always tight, and it's perfect for the movie. This concept of like, and this I feel like with stand up is a big thing, where it's like we want to be perfectionists, but does that get in the way?
Maybe that's why I relate
yourself?
to Natalie, because
Yes.
I am a like, I look at like a Louis at the Comedy Store special and I go, God, that's incredible to be that loose and to have jokes that kind of peter off and maybe a tag that doesn't fully pop. And I'm like, I want that, but I could never, because I gotta be so fucking perfect and tight.
Right. So like there's in a way I feel like there's two types of comics. There's a comics where like, and everyone has a bit of both, but there's the comics where it's like, you act like you're just talking, and there's a comic like aware that the joke is, you know what I mean? So like Mitch Hedberg, like a joke. Louis, he just feels like he's talking. They're both jokes, but one deals with the illusion and one doesn't. And like Seinfeld, like a joke, you know what I mean? It's like there's maybe that's a scriptedness to it, you know what I mean? And in the scriptedness, which you have in this very succinct way, and I have two. I try to sloppy it up, but I also have. I think we all do on some level. We all have
tough to hide. Like you can mask it, but I think like some Louis bits there'd be like, if I was like being a scientist, would be like, you should cut that tag. That wasn't a great. And it's like, no, but that's part of the flowing of the conversation.
Mess. Like you take a piece of paper, and then you crumple it. It's almost like a crumpled feeling.
Yeah.
Kyle Kinane is very good at that too. Nate Bargatze is great at that. You almost think you have the act, and then you crumple it up. Almost like impressionistic painting. It's it's like you see the seams. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think as a comic, we all fight. I mean, I opened for Louis for a little bit, and he made but he made a good point, which is that like we all fight. The enemy of comedy is roteness, right? You try to like, it's like, and often I'll go move to another joke because I'm sick of that joke. When really, and this is something he brought up, which is actually interesting. Really, instead of moving on to another joke, actually try to learn how to do that joke like it's the first time. That's the hard part. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Louis is a great actor, so he can act the part. And he always said before he went on stage, he said two things. He always said he reminded himself it could go wrong, which is important because I do think we bomb the most when we think it's not going to go wrong.
Yeah.
A little cockiness. And number two, he said, what are these jokes about? So like getting into the emotion of the joke.
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
And he got in my head a lot. He once told me, he's like, you care more about crushing than like being in the moment.
Yeah. The problem is that you
He
get
likes to
older.
fuck with
you get
people.
older, and I go, I gotta crush.
Yeah,
because
it's
I'm
the
fucking,
seller. Fuck you.
know,
Yeah, exactly.
You could shit the bed, and you will still get invited back tomorrow.
Exactly. You should never listen to advice from any comedian.
Yeah. It's
Certainly
tough.
not him.
But I think when I saw,
You should never listen to advice from any comedian, even Louis C.K.
even Louis C.K. I think Black Swan, when I first saw this movie, it was when I had mentors and I had gurus, and I was
Gurus? What is Russell Brand took you under his wing?
Just like acting teachers, but it was part of an acting company,
okay.
so they were also giving you some life advice.
Yeah.
A voice teacher who the first half of the voice lesson was like their philosophy on being in the business, but ultimately it was a life philosophy. And like, I was burned in ways. I went through the cult experience in a micro
In the acting
way.
world.
Yeah, in the acting world, in the singing world, of just like you had a lot of faith in someone, you saw the cracks, you saw the imperfections, and then I got out before, we started becoming a sex cult or collapse. But like I see the whole overtrust
Yes.
They're talented.
Yes.
And like so,
Which is like institutional, kind of like in this movie, like this balance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Which we
she
don't have
has
as much
this-
in comedy.
What
yeah.
is it? The choreographer, the director, this guy.
Yeah, who is Vincent Cassel. The whole movie is basically a PSA, sexual harassment PSA. Like, it's the entire time. Though he
Sure.
doesn't. I also tried to kid at one point. He's like, he really doesn't fuck her. I'm like, is this man so dedicated to teaching that he's gonna harass her just to get the best role out of her? Because he doesn't fuck her.
I forgot, but yeah, I guess he does. They make out though, right? They have
He
like
makes out with her, and you're like, I think he's gonna fuck her. He doesn't though. He makes out with
Sure.
her. He told her to go home and masturbate, but then he's like, let's leave. But then he never tries anything. I'm like, I think this guy is so dedicated to his craft, he's risking getting canceled to just get the best performance out of her.
Sure. Or they got rid of that one scene because they were like, that makes it a little bit too. But like, I think when I think about like teaching acting and like my views of like what a teacher, I'm not saying a teacher should be allowed to fuck their students.
No,
but
yeah.
like in terms of like saying to a person go home and masturbate because like you're sexually repressed and that's getting in the way of your art.
That could
part of me is
happen.
like, that makes sense to me, and I don't know how you put that in a BFA college program. I don't know.
Well, because I always found it fishy. Isn't there an exercise too, like where they go to circle naked? I've heard that happens sometimes. Like you undress to feel like.
Well,
like,
when I was in a Meisner company of acting technique in Philly, you do these exercises where you try to be private in public, essentially.
Yeah.
You're in your room, and it could be intense or it could be something so simple as you're changing for the day.
Yeah.
And getting naked in class felt like a badge of honor. I'm not saying the teacher encouraged it, but it was like, the idea of like, can I take off my underwear, put on new in a way that I'm not speeding it up, I'm not slowing it down, but can you really get there? It felt like and I did it.
That's a challenge.
I got naked. Can you, especially as a man, can you not be thinking about, am I at half mast? Am I,
That's like when they say the hardest part of meditation is like to listen to your breathing without controlling it.
Yeah.
Like to get naked in front of a class and not feel your hand just like, let's make this go quicker. I mean, that sounds like it's such a challenge. I kind of want to, I could see why people want to try it.
Or to even slow down in an inauthentic way. I think Philip Seymour Hoffman talked about, what's the movie he did with Laura Linney?
Oh,
putting
the
their
Savages?
Yeah, I think there's a scene where he's jerking off, and he talked in some interview just about the anxiety of like, can I do that for real?
Right.
And not just like, can I hide it, but also like to not like lean in.
Right, right.
And I used to love that stuff when I was really acting, and now as a comedian, I'm like, fuck.
Well, do you think they're still doing this shit or no? Do you think the Me Too movement kind of took this away?
I think people are still doing it, absolutely, 100%. And that's why there's all these conversations about intimacy coordinators and some people going like, I don't want it. And whenever men, I think a man would be, you probably don't share that view. But even that woman in Honora, I believe they didn't have an intimacy coordinator. And she was like, we were fine. And people were like, you weren't fine. And then it's like, well, can a woman have her own
should you believe women in that moment? That's the moment you don't believe women. I guess she's like, fine. You're like, no. I don't believe you.
Yeah. I ultimately think that on a film set you have a million like weird things going on.
Yeah,
in
just
my
look at
old
Sean
actor
Baker.
self,
He's fine. He's not like a creep. I can just tell.
Yeah. In my old actor self, if someone said to me, if a woman or a man in a romantic scene said, hey, I don't need an intimacy coordinator, do you need one? Me personally, I'd go, no.
Yeah. Well, I
No, let's do the thing.
Though it's also, I feel like once they started having that, like every old actor got canceled immediately. Frank Langella in a scene, F. Murray Abraham in a scene. They all just got canceled because like they're just not used to that. So they'll like put a hand on a knee.
Yeah, it depends on what you want your acting experience to be. And everyone, I mean, again, like if there's abuse, of course it has to be handled and dealt with. But I also think part of my really artsy-fartsy brain goes like, what acting is, you're part of a company and you have trust and you've decided to do something together. As peers, and to bring in a third party is like, I just believe that adults should be allowed. But
Yeah.
in movies, there's so many power dynamics.
Yeah,
and
it depends on the
money and-
director. Sean Baker's obviously an effeminate heterosexual. In that case, it's okay. You know what I mean?
Sure.
He just seems like the nicest guy ever.
Would you show your dick on camera? That's the big question.
One time I did a sketch years ago where we were like, I thought it'd be really funny as a newscaster. He's like, talking to, or not newscaster, the guy you cut to, and he has just one ball sticking out of his.
Sure.
And then the guy
Ball?
has to tell him your ball's sticking out.
Yeah, but at the end of the
That's
day,
not a big deal.
that's not a big deal. There is a
No, I wouldn't. I almost did the naked show once, and I canceled.
I would do it at a nudist colony. If I was at a nudist colony and it was like this was normal and no one was filming, I do not trust a random Brooklyn show.
But you've done have you done the painting thing, nudes? I feel like, why do I think you've done that?
I think I did a poster where like I was faking it.
I'm like, I hope this wasn't a dream I had.
I would do it. I don't need a picture out there.
Yeah. No.
I would do it for an acting thing. I've auditioned for things certainly where like they say, in the description, we can do anything we want to you. And I go,
well, that might just be your kink,
Yeah.
But with Black Swan, it starts out, she's a ballerina and they're looking for the role, right? And right away, and this I guess what gets into some of the issues I have with it. What is the movie? Is she just schizophrenic? Is that really what's going on? I mean, honestly, let's talk about this.
I think it's about like that the only way to be the greatest is to sacrifice yourself.
I get that, but there's a whole other part of the movie,
Yeah.
which is her having hallucinations.
But
the
I think if
entire
you're
time.
actually willing to sacrifice yourself, you are fucking crazy.
Right, but-
Hallucinations are not like I think as you get older, and like this is why I love this movie so much when I was younger, you just go like, yeah, kill me for great art, and then you get older and you're like, but I have a partner and
of
we want to
course.
have a home. So I think it's literally it's just expanding that if you really believe in this, you are an insane person, and your ego, you have this relationship with yourself.
And I get that all, but she is hallucinating the entire movie.
Yeah, for sure.
So it's like, and there's a little bit of my issue with the movie, and maybe I just come at it from like a literal place. Sometimes it's not technically. Some people call it a horror movie. I don't know. For me,
I wasn't scared of it. It's a sexy movie to me.
yeah, it's very sexy. Though
Her
honestly,
and fucking Mila
yeah, but when
Kunis,
they
my
don't get
God.
naked, that's like the greatest tease in cinema history. Like honestly, you're putting Mila Kunis and Natalie Portman in a room, not one tit.
That's the problem when they're stars, I'm sure they said a tit's going to cost you $2 million.
Yeah, right. But so there's a question of like, I mean, I guess it depends on how to look at this movie. There's so many like kind of scares that are just like visual tricks, right?
Yeah.
And to me, I like a lot of this movie, but to me, it just felt like that same beat over and over and over
I get
again.
that.
And it got a little repetitive. It also got to the point where I'm like, I love the ending. The ending really comes together for me. But it got to a point where I'm like, what is real? I like you can't tell what is real or not. And I guess I have trouble with that kind of movie just because it's like, I guess I get a little bored. You ever see It?
Mm-hmm.
I felt the same way with It, where it's like the It guy can do anything.
Sure.
So it's like the writers can just do anything right here. You're not like confined by an organic structure you've created.
Yeah.
You can just be like, well, now
You don't have to deal with the results
Yeah.
of whatever happens.
you have no rules.
Yeah.
So with this, you're like, well, we'll just have Natalie Portman's mom look like a demon in this shot. We'll just have, it's just like it got like. It's kind of the same beat over and over again. Do you feel that at all? Or?
Yeah, I get that. I understand what you're saying about like the fantasy. As I said, I watched The King of Comedy last night, and like it gets into this realm where he's kind of he has all these fantasy moments, and then at the end he goes on the like Tonight Show essentially, and the part that bothered me the most, I was like, did his set actually kill? Because they kind of incorporate that into the literal things, and you're like, wait, did the set crush though?
I have trouble with
that's
this.
Where
I don't like things being open for interpretation.
Uh-huh,
I mean,
I
I
get
like
that.
it if it's like a David Lynch movie, but I actually think if you are building a reality in a movie on some degree, and then you're watching an ending and you don't know if it's real or not, I actually think it prevents one from having.
You're watching Inception if you're like, if this top doesn't fall, I'm gonna fucking kill myself.
I just like, yeah, it's just like, there's something where it's like, I struggle. Like, you talk about King of Comedy. So Taxi Driver, right? You remember Taxi Driver? I always had an issue with the ending of Taxi Driver because people talk about it. I don't think people talk enough about the ending. I find it interesting, but there's kind of an open argument about if it's real or not, you know? Because basically Ghost shoots up all those people, and then the next moment he's like crowned as a hero.
Yeah.
And then he's in a taxi with Sybil Shepherd, and she's like into him.
Yeah.
And it's like, why is she into him? It's weird. Like he's like a Bernard Getz.
Yeah.
But now she's into him. But then at the end, she leaves, and it shows him do like kind of a creepy turn. And I've heard Scorsese say like that's showing he's still dangerous. Well, if he's still dangerous, it's not a fantasy, right?
Yeah.
Because what's the point of saying he's still right? So clearly, and then some people do think it's a fantasy, which I actually think is a bad interpretation. Because if it's a fantasy, what's the point? We already know what we're watching isn't real. It's a movie.
Yeah.
And I actually talked to ChatGPT. It was giving me all these interpretations. And then ChatGPT goes, do you want to know what I think?
That's so
And
funny.
I asked it, and I actually agree with it. But I actually think there's a flaw. It is real. I think the intention is for it to be real. I think what they were saying is society is so fucked up that we see this crazy guy the whole time. And then when he does this, society is just as fucked up as him that they make him a hero.
Sure.
And I think that's interesting. It's almost like it becomes satire at the end.
I think so, but that's why I think for this it's less a satire. I think this is more like she might as well have killed herself. At the end, she
does kill herself. Yeah,
she has glass, but then she performs somehow while bleeding to the point of death.
And no, she does. I do think that's real. She does kill herself. But just to conclude about Taxi Driver, I think it is real, and I think that idea is interesting. That twist. If there was a fantasy, he just died and fantasizing that. It's not really.
Yeah.
It doesn't really say anything. It is interesting, that twist, but I think where the movie actually fucks up a little is because Sybil Shepherd is suddenly into him. That's actually not character motivated.
Yes.
Because even though he's like a hero now, she knows how fucking weird he is.
Well, that's what I'd say about like the King of Comedy, where I go, it's a betrayal of the audience.
Yes.
Thinks these jokes are really funny.
Right.
And I go, and then it goes into like the realistic space. He gets arrested. He goes away. And I go, wait, but so what happened at that show?
Exactly. Once you're confused about what actually happened, I actually think it can prevent a certain catharsis a lot of times.
I agree.
Not always. There are some things where it's like, obviously like David Lynch's shit, but there's some things where it's like, if they're like, obviously in Black Swan, there is a reality.
Mm-hmm.
And you want to be able to know a little the difference. And the reality is, I believe it's the subjective view of a schizophrenic woman.
Sure.
And I guess my problem, I think there's so many interesting things, but my problem is she's fucked from the beginning.
Yeah.
And I think a movie has more dramatic impact if you slowly watch someone kind of go crazy.
Yeah.
But I guess you could say she's going, but the truth is she's having like hallucinations right away.
Sure.
So it's kind of like hopeless.
Yeah.
And I guess when you watch something hopeless and someone with schizophrenia, it is hopeless. You know what I mean? It is. I think the power of a movie, the power of a movie is, especially a movie like this, is when you feel like the main character has a choice of some kind, and they kind of there's a possibility of happiness.
Yeah.
That they ruin. You actually have that in Taxi Driver. There are parts where he tries to communicate. There are parts where he tries to get out of his hole, and it fails. Right.
Yeah.
But in this, I feel like she's just going down a well the whole time.
Sure.
And you're watching someone without agency, and I think it's interesting, but I think it takes away the sense of a journey.
Yeah, I guess the way they try to assert her agency is, I guess when she finally stabs herself, where.
But even
it's
then,
her
she thinks she's
decision.
killing Mila Kunis.
Yeah.
Even then, if there's she's just a crazy person.
Sure.
I guess I would have liked. I guess I wish she didn't have schizophrenia. I wish it wasn't so like. And maybe I don't know. Maybe people think. I mean, that has to be the case, right? She's having hallucinations the entire time.
Yeah, for sure. She's a hungry ballerina and just mentally breaking down, and.
I guess I would have liked to see, and some people are going to comment like, well, she is breaking down, but it's like the second scene she's walking and she sees Natalie Portman walk by her. It's like, it's already breakdown. I guess I would have liked to see more a sense of someone normal breaking down.
Sure.
But I get the sense it's kind of a lost cause, which is schizophrenia, a lost cause on some. I mean, not if you. I don't know, but I didn't see her really. There's nothing she could have done to like not,
Do you think it's like, because I imagine what he was going for is that like he's trying to present ambition, or whatever you want to call this word, this desire for this perfection, to be its own mental illness. But then I can see what you're saying, where it becomes more schizophrenic in that it's like she's being affected as opposed to. It's kind of like mapping it onto a different mental illness as opposed to really exploring what is this.
If that's the take, exactly. If you're schizophrenic, like ambition isn't your biggest problem.
Sure.
Now, you could say she's not schizophrenic. You could just say it's an artsy horror movie.
Yeah.
And then there's all
I
just
think
metaphorical.
the movie was saying you have to be schizophrenic to reach perfection. You have to. I think that's what they were going. Like he was saying to her, the teacher's trying to break her down as essentially being like, the only way to do this is to be so crazy you can be dancing on a stage, but you're actually a swan, and you buy it. And that's, to me, that's the acting felt so much like that, where it was like. You hear Daniel Day-Lewis talk, or you listen to, and now people hear about this method acting and they kind of act grossed out by it to a degree, but it's like this belief, like, oh, I'm going to make myself crazy because only in craziness can I achieve greatness.
And it's getting lost in a role, right?
Yeah,
getting lost in a role, but. I guess I feel like she's just being taken advantage of the whole time.
Sure.
In a way where like the drivenness that gets you lost in the role, that drivenness.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't as impactful because so much of it was just hallucinations.
Yeah.
As opposed to like seeing a really driven person just kind of slowly lose their mind.
Yeah.
It didn't seem slowly. It seemed, granted, look, I'm going to get comments like you're taking this too literally. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And it is possible I am. I mean, in a way, this movie is kind of like a foreign film where there's like Persona or something, where it's like so much is metaphorical. So maybe it's taking it too literal to think she's a schizophrenic,
But I get what you mean, where they take her a bit. I mean, if you see it as an outside person, then it is schizophrenia. If you see this outside person as representative of her ego, forcing her to do it, then I think that's where I think it's the difference between schizophrenia and metaphor, which is
the second part. Okay.
I think like that person, that other ballerina, her seeing herself.
Yeah,
that's her going, fucking do it, fucking be good, be better, harder, and like I think maybe that's why that final moment of it's my turn now is her taking whatever that ambitious and going, I am that person now. And now I'm going to do it. So in that way, I think, like, I understand what you're saying, but I think that's maybe what the schizophrenia is him kind of dividing the two things. And she's a human being who has feelings and wants and maybe doesn't want to kill herself. And there's other part of her is going, like, no, kill yourself.
Right.
And the end is her going, I am going to kill myself.
But do you ever think there was another way?
No. I mean, I agree with you in that she just kind of slowly decays. You never see her, but in a way, she didn't have agency from the beginning. She's got that mom, right? Doesn't her mom?
Yeah, her mom is very weird. But to be fair, you don't always know what's real or not, so it's like hard to like. But yeah, the mom is like a little.
But in that way too, it's like I think the difference between it felt like she was born into this life that kind of guided her to this, as opposed to no one was begging me to do anything that I've chosen to do. So I had more agency of like, I have to do this. She had like dancing from a little kid.
I mean, look, in real life, I don't think free will is like an actual thing, but for movies, but we also need the illusion. For movies, I think things kind of lack impact if you don't feel a little.
I understand that.
Maybe this is the core of what a tragedy is.
But
it lacks a little impact where it's just hallucinations the whole time, and then she's like killed herself at the end. But you've seen so many crazy things. It's like
I think tragedy would be if it stayed after and so the reviews come out and they're like she was bleeding the whole time and she slipped and you actually see it and it's her like and
tragedy is the review going, not a believable death.
And it really is the fact that it goes to white.
Yeah,
is really a yes ending. It is a religious ending,
and I do like the ending. I guess I wish it would have been a little more earned where you're not. I mean, I feel like this was a lot of horror film. Even in the horror film, if the demons can come out at any moment, it kind of feels like you're walking through a haunted house where nothing has consequence. I think Smile. I don't know if you've seen the Smile movies.
I have. I've just seen like one horrifying scene.
They're very scary, but sometimes they get to a point where like, well, anything can happen here. You know what I mean? So it's like with this movie, I don't see like, it's like a clever premise, but it has the same beat over and over and over again. Because at no point are you ever feeling like you're watching something that it never feels more real. It never feels real for more than 5 seconds before something weird happens. So I think it's such an interesting idea, but I think it gets trapped in that beat. And I think with like Taxi Driver, there is a real world, and you see him like being detached from it more and more, and that has an impact. Like that has an impact. The ending, once you gets a little complicated, that has an impact. But like, I don't see her. I mean, obviously, you could say it's a different movie, but in Taxi Driver, when he asks for help from like one of the old cab Wiz, or when he tries to take Sybil Shepherd on a date, or when he you see him trying to claw out of his hole, and that makes it a lot more moving.
Yeah,
there's no chance to claw.
At a certain point in this movie where it's going to go. She's going to succeed in her dreams, but it's going to be disaster.
Yeah, so there's a predictability to it. I guess that's what I mean. You want to feel that there isn't a predictability. Like I feel the same. You see Joker? I felt the same way in Joker. You're watching a guy who's a little mentally unhinged, right? And they're like showing he doesn't get help from like the hospital or anything, right? But he kills people so quickly in that movie. It's like in the first 15 minutes. And once you see that, you're like, he's a lost cause.
Yes.
There was no chance. So it's just boring. And then the point they're trying to make is not really valid. They're like, if only there was more healthcare opportunities. He's a psychopath, you know? And did you see Eddington?
No, I want to though. Is it worth it?
Yeah, it's definitely worth it. There's so many interesting things. It's really hard to unpack. I'm going to do an episode about it soon. It's hard to unpack. I watched it. I love Ari Aster. He's like kind of like a hero of mine. I watch just as a person. I think he's awesome.
Sure.
And I love his movies. I watched the first half. I was like, this is good. The second half made me really angry.
Sure.
Like I was like, what the fuck did you just do? And then it kind of stuck with me. And now I can't decide if it's a noble failure or a masterpiece. So I have to watch it again, which is cool. I mean, I do recognize his style is unique.
Yeah.
But it's interesting. Things can be unique and also not work. And things can work and not be unique. And there's a question in the middle of the movie where one of the characters does something where you're like, well, is this even social commentary anymore if this person is this fucked up?
Yeah.
You know? But so I guess that's the thing. Just
so if your version of Black Swan that you would prefer be halfway through, she pivots to stand-up comedy. Because, this ballet thing, and then opening, it's like I did a ballerina thing.
And she's just a failed ballerina who's trying to do comedy. Yeah.
She comes on stage in a tutu.
I think every movie should end with the person
She's like, this isn't Carnegie
stand-up.
Hall.
But also, like, the mother, she's yelling at the mother at the end in the house, and she's having a screaming fit, and then she goes to the theater, and then the mother's just in the front row at the end, which I guess is a hallucination. But I'm like, I really think this was all a dream thing only worked in Wizard of Oz. It has fucked up every single movie since then.
Yeah. I wonder what the first one to do that. And the first audience that went, oh my God, what?
Well, it's just tough because it's like, we know the movie's fake. And the whole time we're trying to suspend our disbelief. And then when the movie's like, Tyler Durden wasn't real, it's like, well, none of it's fucking real, asshole.
Yeah.
And that's a problem in Fight Club, which just falls a little into, like, in Fight Club, Tyler Durden, you know Fight Club, right?
Yeah.
Tyler Durden is like this character who sometimes talks to other people and other times doesn't.
Yeah.
Like, there's no rules to it. You know what I mean? Like, I think Sixth Sense works beautifully because, like, by the end, you can go back and it actually makes sense.
Yeah.
Like, I actually think a good twist is when you actually risk the possibility of people realizing it, and then you go back.
That's a good point.
And if it's a bad twist, it's cheating, where there's no way you could have known.
Yes.
Because there's not enough evidence. Usual Suspects do the same way. In Usual Suspects, he's literally telling a story where he's in the shot with Kaiser Soze.
Sure.
So you're like, there's no way you could guess that because the movie's lying to you.
I see. I get what you're saying.
Now, this is a little more artsy. It doesn't have, like, I wouldn't put this, even though Mila Kunis isn't, like, she is real, but she's not in that scene at the end.
Of course.
But I do think, like, it loses a little. I don't know. I guess I think that ending could have been so more powerful. Like, have you seen The Wrestler, his other movie?
Yes.
It's a similar ending.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, different, but it is him falling to his death in a sense.
Yeah.
And that has way more impact because you're actually watching his whole life, in my opinion.
I agree with that. But it's also like, I think that has more impact also because it doesn't go into the fantasy. To me, The Wrestler is like a sad, like Black Swan really connects to that religious belief of like, oh, she reached heaven in some form. The Wrestler is like, he'd rather die doing this thing that he
it's like weirdly
can't not do.
It's like
The Wrestler is honestly, now that I think of it, like that's more how I view art now, where I go like, there's nothing else I can do. I'm gonna fucking die doing this shit.
Because sometimes you're like, should I quit? But you're like, wait, no, it's way too long.
Yeah.
It's actually when you get to a scarier thought, where you're like, oh, I can't quit. At the beginning, you're like, should I quit? And that's a scary thing. And then eventually the scary line is, fuck, I can't quit.
Would you want to die? Do you ever think of, there are videos of someone dying on stage?
Well, there's Albert Brooks' father who died after a roast. He did a roast at, what's the place called? The roast,
Friars Club.
Friars Club. And he died of a heart attack at the very end of the set.
At the end of the set?
He did the whole set, sat back down, and died of a heart attack right there. He fucking finished the show.
It's every time I go through those questions of how I'd want to die, I think I end up reaching. I go, oh, I don't want to die.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
I'm very scared of dying of a heart attack on stage because years ago when I was a drunken comic, I was doing an open mic, and there was like a headliner in town. It was in Louisville, and she had a opener. It was this older guy, and we're doing this open mic. It was going really badly, and everyone's bombing, and I was drunk, cock of the walk in my hometown, but an arrogant, insecure alcoholic. And the guy, the comic, her opener who's coming in from in town was doing a set next on the open mic, and I barely like got his intro, and I went on stage, and I feel bad because I still don't fully know the pronunciation. I said, "Get up for Drew Denisi" or something, something like that. He goes on stage. He has a guitar act, and it's killing. But it's a little hack, but it's killing. And me and the other bitter open mic comics in that town are watching from the other room, and on his guitar, and we're like, this fucking hack. Because he actually is doing well.
Sure.
And we're like, this fucking hack. They don't like anything good, you know? So while he was playing guitar, while we were talking shit about him in the other room, we did not know he was actually having pain in his chest. And after set, he like kind of, I think, drove to the hospital later and died of a heart attack. And then I got a message from the headliner who was like friends with him, a Facebook message where she's like, you piece of shit. You didn't even get his introduction. You've misspelled his name. That was his last set ever. And if fucking bullshit came out of your mouth, he died and you didn't even pronounce his name correctly. You fucking piece of shit. And
that's so not fair. It's not fair. If there are some people, I mean, I have done some terrible intros, and if they had died.
Well, I tell people, like, when I told that story, I like message her back, like, if I would have known it was his last set, I would have given it a bigger thing. I didn't act. What I said was like, I'm terribly sorry. I feel horrible. And then she kind of like, you know, it might have been unfair, but it also like, I didn't have the strength to be like, that's not my fault. You know what I mean?
It would have been great if you went to the funeral, though, and like tried to make it about you. You go up there, I just wanted to say.
And then I mispronounced his name again.
Give it up for God. This next guy, you may.
The fucked up thing is, I still don't fully know how to pronounce his name. I'm pretty sure
that's
it's
so funny.
But sometimes I see his picture on walls, and I'm really.
So he really had a career.
He's a guitar. Yes, and I'm worried I'm going to die of a heart attack as punishment. But then I remind myself everything is random and yada, yada, yada. But like, I mean, if Trump's not getting punished, it's not really fair for me to get punished.
Of course.
But I do worry about that. Like, what if that's my punishment?
Yeah, and you get to the gates of heaven and he's there.
Yeah.
He's like, your name's not Raanan.
Well, I
guess you got to go to hell.
Well, I'm worried that like I'll know it'll happen when I'll be at an open mic, older headliner, and the drunken open mic host will come up and be like, next comic is Raanan Hershberg. And I'm like, oh, this is it. This is it.
I think the lesson is you hit a certain age, you should not be doing open mics anymore.
That's also the lesson. But yeah, so anyway, that's my wrestler scared thing.
That's a really horrifying but beautiful story.
Yeah, I feel bad. I see his picture, and I'm like, I think it's Drew Donisi. I think so.
Yeah.
But anyway, I'm sorry, wherever you are, if you're looking down. I'm sorry I fucked up your name. I was drunk. I was an alcoholic, and you know, I was a bitter alcoholic. But, like, you know, I apologize, but hopefully... in heaven, they get your name right.
I've done way worse than that. I once, there was a guy, I'm terrible with names, and this guy, he was Indian, and I had met him and another friend of his who was Indian at the same time, and I knew he wasn't the other guy.
Yeah.
But something in my head, the anxiety of the 4 people at the comedy shop show, I said the other guy's name.
Really?
And I mean, it was just a freak out moment. And you know, it came off like, and I knew it wasn't the other guy. I don't know what I was doing.
Yeah.
I've also done my favorite. It was UCB, and I didn't know the sketch team, and I did. Come on, guys, you get ready? Make some noise. Give it up for and I just and I tried to get them as loud as possible to cover up that I didn't know.
Well, the Indian thing, I don't know. Yeah, I once like found I had COVID later, and I was hanging out with Reg Thomas, and then I ended up afterwards, once I realized I had COVID, I called Reggie Conquest to tell him I had a COVID.
Sure.
I fucked up the names.
But get that with the sketch team, so they were visiting, and then they flew back. The plane crashed. They all died.
Never had. Anytime anyone mispronounces your name, you die.
Yeah, their name was, I forget, improv.
You know, I think we make it too big a deal out of them, like mistaking people. First of all, 2 black people can look alike. 2 Indians can also look alike. I mean, it's one thing if you confuse, like, you know.
Someone came up to me and thanked me. They said that joke you did, and it was a Harrison Greenbaum joke.
Exactly.
And I said, okay.
That's just like a gay thing, because you don't even look alike.
That would be more progressive. You mix up gay people of different races. That would be great.
God, at that moment, you're like, God, people think I'm more gay than I am thin or tall.
That's so funny.
But no, neither of you are gay. It's just a joke. Well, Harrison, who knows? But no, I'm joking. He's not gay. Effeminate heterosexuals, they exist.
We do.
Sean Baker,
we do.
you, yeah,
yeah. Some of us, though, we'll see.
Yeah,
we'll see. Some people, they die still saying they're straight, but they were gay.
Yeah,
maybe they don't even know.
Yeah, there are certain people who are like, even if I watched all of your life and you never even hooked up with a guy, I'd still think you're gay.
Yeah.
Even if I saw every thought you ever had and none of them were gay, I'd still think you're gay. You know.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. But you know, I don't know. It's we should wrap this up in a couple of minutes. But I guess do you see back to Black Swan? You see what I'm
yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah, I mean, I think like my attachment to the movie is just like, it becomes very emotional. The script was enough to get me to the emotional catharsis of that final moment. This is Darren Aronofsky.
Yes.
Who wrote
Requiem for a Dream.
Requiem for a Dream. I remember when I was like reading scripts, and I remember reading Requiem for a Dream, and I was like, there's really nothing on the page here. It was very little on the page in terms of like, it was, none of the scenes were particularly great. And I go, for me, like whether it's that or Black Swan, I go, you work, and I haven't seen most of his later movies, but you really work in like the visceral level. I mean, Requiem for a Dream, I remember I saw it and then I read it. I remember reading it being like, oh, I would not have read this and thought this was a movie that would like fuck me up.
Right.
And then with the music, I mean, Requiem for a Dream and Black Swan both have songs that I've like listened to.
Yes. Well, the Requiem for a Dream song is like one of the greatest songs.
Yeah.
I will say it's funny. I guess I really have problems with Darren Aronofsky because Requiem for a Dream is another one where it's like, yes, I recognize it's very visceral, but it's also the same beat over and over again. It's just drugs are bad. Like
yeah.
And I actually think it fails to ever show how drugs are good, which I think is important to capture the experience. But yeah, I guess with him, he is very visceral. Yeah. And there's a flow to it.
And I just get swept up in that.
You get swept up. I guess there's a part of me that kind of recognizes that there's not that many beat. It's kind of the same beat. Like, she's crazy. She's a perfectionist. I mean, I guess she does get there, but there's not like layers to it or characters really. Like it kind of ignores like, you know, like no one's really a I don't know. And I do think, for this movie to work, because there is certain movies that work without agency. A tragedy or a drama kind of needs agency. The two things that don't need agency are actually comedy and horror.
Okay.
I think a horror movie, you can often watch someone without agency, and it works. So I think the Black Swan works, or you can justify the lack of agency or the same beats as it being a horror movie.
Yeah, I get that.
My problem with that is just not that scary because you kind of, once you look at it as a horror movie, it becomes that haunted house thing.
Yeah.
Where you're like, all right, something's going to jump out, but none of it's real. And for a horror movie, things actually kind of have to be real for it to be scary. It's almost like, for horror movies to work, it's almost like something that actually is real, feels surreal, but it is real, and that's like the horror, you know?
Yeah, it's not scary, though. It's also the horror thing is you.
Yeah,
It's kind of like, well, stop it.
Yeah, exactly. But I guess I don't have visual hallucinations, so maybe I'm just being too literal.
I've always wanted. When did I ask?
You walk, you just like see Gianmarco walk by you. Is that how much you can relate to the movie?
I mean, my fantasy. I feel like you get some chores done for me. I can't. Yeah, I've never been that level of schizophrenic. I guess, thank God.
I mean, schizophrenia is tough. It's a hard thing to make a movie about.
But when you see schizophrenics, you're like, God, what are you seeing? Are you literally seeing another person?
Right. And then you're like, is it really crazy? If you think you're seeing that, isn't that real to you?
Sure.
Like, is that even crazy? It'd actually be crazy if you ignored it.
Of course.
Like, if you really think if you really see a person there, isn't that reacting in a real manner to something? So you're not
I'm sure
really
that's
crazy.
what they'd argue.
Yeah, it's bizarre, but I don't know. Chime in the comments. Maybe people, I haven't done a lot of research on the movie. Maybe people think schizophrenia is a very literal interpretation. And it's just more of like the visuals just represent her emotional state.
Yeah.
But I guess it's hard for me to know exactly. And I guess I do find it loses a little impact because I don't know what exactly I'm watching.
I totally get what you mean. The one other thing I do want to say, though, because I thought about last night, because part of me opening up these stand-up comedy movies, I'm building, it's like a chunk only for this, of like why stand-up in movies is bad, and kind of breaking down the ways that it's bad.
That's a bit you're doing, or?
Yeah, I'm just like, it's a bit, but like it's to intro stand-up movies. Okay. I'm not going to do this at the Cellar.
Oh, okay.
You know, but it's just like, it's kind of breaking down the different mistakes these writers make.
Yeah.
And I do think about the fact that one of the criticisms where they said, the spin is always Natalie Portman really worked on her ballet for this. And then it's like, well, the stunt double did all the things that you're impressed by. And I go like, yeah, that's the whole point, is that when you have an actor doing an art form, they can't actually do it well enough. You got to get a stunt in. And so I think for stand-up comedy movies, it should suddenly switch to just a comic doing the act.
That's a great point, because that's actually even like the harder thing to like get. Yeah.
And I promise you, Bradley Cooper, whatever stand-up he does in this thing.
It'd be so funny if like in Marvelous Mrs. Maisel cut her on stage, it was Jessica Kirsten.
Yes, it'd be amazing.
Well, that's the problem. It's like Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, I couldn't get into that show because she's not funny. I don't buy it.
Yeah, I mean, and unfortunately, every episode relied on so much stand-up. But I always think, like, worst case scenario, just go buy stand-up from someone. Like, go buy stand-up. It has to serve such a narrative function that it's always terrible. I mean, I don't think
it's ever worked. I mean, Henry Phillips has a movie that works, but he's a comedian.
Yeah.
It's called Punching the Clown, but he's a comedian. He's doing stand-up in it. I don't think it's ever worked with a non-stand-up. Has it?
I think like Lenny did, but only because Lenny Bruce wasn't funny.
Yeah, exactly.
Truly.
Yeah, it's hieroglyphics now.
Yeah, but that's a good movie. Fuck.
Louis once made me watch like a 10-minute Lenny Bruce set, and that was my like Me Too story. It was brutal. It was like
that's so funny.
It's just from a different time where like apparently there was a time in life in the 50s, 60s. It's really hard to grapple with now. There was a time in life where part of being hip was throwing in Yiddish. And that's just like not a thing we can comprehend. That's what my grandpa did.
Yeah.
But Lenny Bruce was like, he's so hip. He's always throwing in Yiddish. He's like, look at this Michigan cat came over here. I'm like, I don't find that hip. But yeah, I don't think it really works. I mean, it often works terribly. I mean, it also like, yeah, I mean, like actors aren't. Yeah, you can't recreate what's funny. Like an actor's just not going to be funny.
Yeah, it's just there's something that doesn't pass the sniff test.
But we'll see. I mean, Bradley Cooper has a movie coming out. Will Arnett.
We'll see. It's called "Is This Thing On?"
That's not a great title.
That's not a great title.
By the way, I don't mean to shit, but Will Arnett is definitely like a Leslie Nielsen type. I don't know. Maybe he'll be good at this.
No, I know what you mean. Listen,
I saw him in Law and Order. it was brutal.
There's
Like
a lot
Will
of
Arnett,
us.
yeah.
I think that especially men, a desire to like, hey, yeah, I know that I'm funny, but I want to be taken seriously sometimes.
Right.
It's the death.
It's the death.
It's the death, and I know that I'm.
Except for Adam Sandler, for some reason it works. He's like worse when he's trying to be funny now. He's like
Yeah.
the greatest serious actor of all time. He's just an incredible
and he's
actor.
still doing grown-ups. Like
I
they're
know.
still doing Happy Gilmore too.
And those
you're
don't
like,
work, and then he'll do like a masterpiece.
But that's the thing; those don't work anymore. You don't get both.
Yeah.
you got to give up something.
But then he'll do like some incredible movie where he's like a dramatic role. Yeah, it's tough. I mean, yeah, Is This Thing On is not great. Apparently he went on stage and did like the British accent, but they didn't say he went on stage as like the character's name, and they filmed it live, I think. You know?
Dreadful.
It's tough.
No chance.
It's also like I feel like Bradley Cooper is like really into music, so his movies have like this passionate thing.
Oh, there's nothing. Listening to if I ever can have him on the podcast, is it Penn or Teller? Which one is the one who talks? Penn and Teller.
I forget. I think Penn.
Penn. He's like one of these guys who goes like, I love comedy. Comedy's like jazz. And they start talking about jazz, and I'm like,
Those are people
no,
love
it's not like jazz at all.
Those are the people who love Lenny Bruce.
Yes. I'm like, please
Lenny
stop telling me
Bruce
like
is like
comedy
jazz.
is like jazz. Magic is like football. Like, shut up.
Yeah, Lenny Bruce is jazz, and that's why it's bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's we'll see. Maybe it's great. Jordan's in it. That's exciting.
That's very
Chloe,
exciting. And I will.
I feel like Chloe's gonna be famous because she's got the mole anyway.
Sure.
So anytime someone sees her and they think, is that the girl from the movie? I feel like they'll be like, it's definitely the girl from the movie.
Yeah, they'll definitely get that.
They'll definitely,
No, I'm happy for them, and for those that are in the movie that I'm friendly with, I will probably check in with them and be like, hey, just so you know, I'm gonna publicly shit on this movie, and it's not your fault.
Yeah.
I'm a fan of you, but I can't let a stand-up movie enter the zeitgeist without being honest about my thoughts on it. I can't do it.
Yeah, hey,
It's my profession.
I commend. I think it's good to, it's good to do, as long as you're being funny, I think shit talking is okay.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I think if you're not funny, it can be a little, but yeah.
Yeah, it can get preachy.
But yeah, all right, well, great. Well, where are you gonna be? This is a good ep. I feel
Yeah.
like we
Listen to my podcast, The Downside. Renan's
yeah.
done it.
it's
I'm
about
on
people's
tour.
Down syndrome.
Yeah, it is. It is.
That'd be hilarious.
Every time the guest goes, I had no idea, and I go, you do. So let's talk about
It's
it.
such a funny time. Downside. But anyway, yeah, you're on tour.
I'm on tour, just everywhere. Find me at Gianmarco Soresi. I post all the tour dates, and check it out.
Soresi.
Soresi.
All right, and you can see me. I'll be in I'll be in Toronto in 2 weeks I'm doing a dry bar taping this weekend.
Congratulations.
Thanks. Yeah, I got to write like a clean set.
Good.
And so I've taken for that. Then you can see me in Toronto. I'm doing a theater in Toronto the following week. Then the Port in Grove 34, August 21st. Port in Baltimore, August 22nd to 23rd. Dr. Grins, I'm also doing, and a couple other places. You can get it at punchup.live/Raanan/tickets. Get it now. Get my tickets. And thanks again for, I was just saying, thanks again for having me. Thanks again for having, we're becoming a Natalie Portman. I'm looking over at you. It's me. All right, cut.
Raanan is fat and he's a Jew. He'll tell you something that you already knew. Your favorite movie sucks. Your favorite movie sucks. American Beauty or Forrest Gump. Your favorite movie sucks.